Welcome back, everybody, to a very special video. Today we're talking about DC Next Level. It's been the initiative over at DC for a little bit now. We know that DC wanted to put a focus on some of their more unsung heroes and teams, and we've really seen the fruits of their labor earlier in the year. But I want to talk about what's next in DC Next Level, okay? So I have this screenshot here. This is from when they initially announced DC Next Level. This was the initial slate of titles, and this was the initial slate of creators that they had attached. Let's start putting some names together, and then we can start thinking about what's coming next for DC Next Level. So obviously, Batwoman, that's been an ongoing series from Greg Rucka and Deniz. It's been real cool seeing Greg Rucka coming back to a character that he knows so well, obviously writing Batwoman Elegy and the entire saga over there, wanting to finish it off with Deniz. Really cool artwork from Deniz. I think it really matches the vibe that they're going for. Deathstroke the Terminator is an interesting series. People initially maybe thought that Skottie Young could be attached to that, but it turns out that Tony Fleece was tapped to write the next saga for Deathstroke the Terminator, and joining him, he's got Carmine John Domenico, who's a really talented artist. I'm a big fan of his stuff. They're killing it over on the Deathstroke title. Even though I've dropped some of these next level titles, I plan to keep reading them on the app through DC Universe Infinite, of course. Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, ended up being the title from Jeff Lemire with artwork from Rafael de la Torre. Ended up being called Fury of the Firestorm. It's a 9-issue, maybe it's 8 issues, I forget, but it's a little mini series that really expands on the Firestorm character. It's a great introduction for those like me who don't know anything about Firestorm, really. I've only seen him in like the Flash TV show or like Legends of Tomorrow, right? It's not the best representation of the character, you could say. Shadow of the Bat we'll get to in a second. Zatanna. Okay, so as soon as we knew Zatanna was coming back for DC Next Level, we figured it was probably Jamal Campbell coming back to a character after writing a great 6-issue miniseries as part of DC's All In initiative. So Jamal Campbell just killing it on Zatanna. Really fun seeing the choice that Jamal Campbell was given, right? Like, hey, do you want to do something else or do you want to do Zatanna? Jamal Campbell decided to do Zatanna, and it's having a lot of fun in the magic corner of the DC universe. Lobo, okay, so as soon as like it got announced that Tony Fleece was attached to Deathstroke, everyone kind of figured that Skottie Young would be doing Lobo. It seems just like a match made in heaven. And of course, if you got Skottie Young, Jorge Corona is not far behind. So Jorge Corona joining Skottie Young for a Lobo series. Real fun stuff out in space. They can get real wacky, they can get real weird, and they're having a lot of fun on the Lobo title over there. Barbara Gordon Breakout, crossing that out, that is part of DC's Next Level. Of course, it's spinning out of the pages of Matt Fraction's ongoing Batman title. So Barbara Gordon Breakout being written by Mariko Tamaki. Okay, so that's a great pick. Mariko Tamaki is no stranger to Gotham City and its characters. And I've not got a chance to read issue 1 of Barbara Gordon Breakout, but I've heard really good buzz about it. I think the art's really clean, and it sounds like that one's an ongoing series. There's no plans to end it at this point. It's just going to be Barbara Gordon in prison for the time being. James Harren and Dennis Camp are the two names down here where we're still, even to this day, as I'm recording, we don't know what projects they're working on. And let's get into some speculating, and then we could try to maybe figure what they could be working on, right? So going to the next slide here, this was the timeline that they announced after the first slate of DC Next Level titles. We knew that, I forgot what event this was at, but we knew that they were playing on Legion the Superhero, Doom Patrol, Jonah Hex, Demon, and Batman Shadow of the Bat. Okay, so obviously Demon being Etrigan the Demon. So we know that Joshua Williamson is doing Legion of Superheroes. It got announced the other day who the artist is that's going to be joining Joshua Williamson. And of course, we've got Hayden Sherman. Insane pick. I did not expect this. In 100 years, I wouldn't have expected Joshua Williamson to be pairing up with Hayden Sherman. Here are some of the little character designs that they got so far. And then Joshua Williamson's been teasing for the longest time that he was tapped to do the Legion of Superheroes. And I just think it's such a genius pick, man. Look at some of these page layouts from Hayden Sherman. it's just insanity, man. And the fact that Hayden Sherman's going to be doing this at the same time as Absolute Wonder Woman, it's just music to a lot of comic fans' ears. One more preview page here. I'm just excited for the Legion of Superheroes. So this is crazy. We know that, so James Harren and Deniz Camp were the two names that we don't know what they're working on, right? But it got announced the other day that Deniz Camp is signing an exclusive deal with DC Comics. This is awesome news. It's really great that DC is sort of locking down Deniz Camp. We saw Deniz doing some Marvel Ultimate stuff in the Ultimate Universe, of course, doing the Ultimate series, really heading that up. But seems like Deniz Camp, instead of towing the line, doing a little bit of work for each, leaning hard into DC, and I could not be more happy. Obviously still doing some Image comic series like Assorted Christ events and that sort of stuff, right? But really focusing on the upcoming event out of the Absolute Universe. So Deniz Camp has been tapped to head up that. And then obviously the DC Next Level speculation, okay? So looking forward to what Deniz Camp and Javier Rodriguez are doing after Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter. We know that this duo has decided to team up for their next project out of DC, and we got this blue sky or whatever communication from Deniz Camp. Someone's asking him, hey, what's the decision about ending Absolute Martian Manhunter? Because it came out that, hey, DC offered Deniz Camp the opportunity to keep it going, and Deniz Camp decided against it. We would both would have liked to continue, and DC was very open to it. They offered us something we couldn't turn down, and we couldn't do both. So it looks like Deniz Camp wasn't able to do both this new project and Absolute Martian Manhunter due to time constraints, and you don't want to make Javier Rodriguez's life just a living hell, right? So it's a hard decision. I'm still really sad about it. We're both conflicted, but I think it was for the best. So what project could Deniz Camp and Javier Rodriguez be working on? We know that it's not Doom Patrol, okay? So it got announced the other day that the Doom Patrol team has been put together. And I gotta be honest, I'm not familiar with the creative team they have attached. So they put out the solicit the other day. The Doom Patrol is broke, adopting a heroes for hire business model to stave off financial and emotional ruin. The team finds itself responding to a simple case, a missing cat. Then it goes off the rails in a way that only a Doom Patrol book can. So we have Darcy Van Polgeest and Nico Henriken. I'm not too familiar with these creatives. I thought it was an interesting choice to choose them for Doom Patrol and not Deniz Camp and Javier Rodriguez. So that is a little interesting. And we know that James Harren, of course, was the other name that I mentioned. His art style really lends a lot to the Demon. So I'm picturing his stuff for the Demon. Just looking at James Harren's art style really quick, it kind of reminds me of like a Jack Kirby sort of blockier style, right? So I would picture James Harren's stuff being more of that like mystical, right? You can lean a little bit into like the fantasy, get a little horror with it. I would think James Harren would be the one tapped to do an Etrigan the Demon series, but I guess maybe I could see, Deniz Camp and Javier Rodriguez doing the Demon as well. Or are they on Shadow of the Bat? Could we be getting Deniz Camp and Javier Rodriguez on Shadow of the Bat? Is that the deal that they couldn't turn down from DC? We'll have to wait and see. But those are the two, things that we have upcoming. Legion of Superheroes still coming. Doom Patrol, Etrigan the Demon, we don't know too much about. We don't know too much about Shadow of the Bat, and we don't know too much about Jonah Hex. I didn't even mention Jonah Hex at all. That was on the timeline that I showed earlier, of course. So starting to fill in some of these pieces, man. Legion, Doom Patrol, Jonah Hex, we still have an empty space for. Demon, empty space, and Shadow of the Bat. Interesting stuff coming from DC. Let me know down in the comments what you're most excited for. While you're down there, leave a like. And if you really liked it, you can hype it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next video and read more comics.